If given the chance and opportunity to do or have anything you wanted, what would you choose? Would you let your mind wander and pursue a life of unbridled hedonism? Commit any vice you see fit just because you can? Donate your time and money to service and solving world issues? Or maybe even just change all your grades to 100 for the upcoming report card? Now, let's bring it back to reality. We ultimately don't have control to do many of those things, and although it's nice to think about the possibility of them and wish for events to happen the right way, they often don't. Because of our hope for the best outcome, we often end up suffering more in our imagination than we do in reality. You ultimately do not have control. Now, if you know me, you'll know I'm talking about the philosophy of Stoicism. The fundamental principles have been vastly influential for my life, and it's guiding me through the tough times and the easy times. Today, I'm going to tell you about 3 principles I follow and that I find the most important. That's it, just 3 ideas, no fancy story. The first one is on people. Dealing with people is part of our daily lives, and until AI takes all of our jobs, we really can't escape it. That said, there are all kinds of people: the immoral, evil, wicked, and outright bad included. This is inevitable. There will always be bad people in this world, and asking for them to not exist is like asking for a rose to grow without thorns or for the wind to stop blowing. Don't be ridiculous. Bad people exist, and you will have to encounter them. But let's be optimistic. Most people don't want to do the wrong thing, and in fact, when they do, it's likely because of their ignorance that deprives them of comprehension. Now, we can try and teach these people, but that's rarely ever the option. So if we can't get rid of bad people and we can't help them, we will just have to put up with them. But let's not forget, we have our own faults too. You might be the bad person in another situation because of your ignorance, and you might not know it. Take, for example, the thief who steals to feed his family. To the store owner, they are the bad person, but they don't know the thief's true motive. And although determining whether they are truly in the right or in the wrong would be an awesome conversation between Dr. Panev and Mr. Kars, we can agree that the store owner just might not see the thief's perspective. Often, you won't know that you are in the wrong, and you won't know that you won't know. So the best thing to do when dealing with bad people is to suspend your dogma, your opinion, and your perception, because we are all made for each other. It's the natural order of things. In fact, we won't know what is good without knowing what is bad. So are bad people really bad after all? The second principle focuses on the future. Just as how you are bound to see bad people, bad days are bound to happen as well. Misfortune will strike your way, friends come and go, and you will see long lines in the dining hall. It's inevitable. And the adversity we encounter is only part of the human experience. We simply can't control it. You can only control what you can control. So don't go around wishing for things to happen that are out of your control. That's a fool's errand. That was especially directed to the grade 12s who are stressing over university admissions. However, what you can control is how you react, and if you're ready to meet these tough days in the future. You can change your expectations, premeditate the misfortune, or my favorite, just accept it. It is what it is, and what can I do? So when the bad days do come, don't be surprised, don't feel bad for yourself, and most importantly, don't complain. Rather, act, endure, and face them with confidence, and remember, you can only control what you can control. You are the sole person who can control your thoughts too. See these days as an opportunity rather than a burden. It is not misfortune, but rather to bear this worthily is good fortune. It can be a time to grow, persist, and feel fortunate you can do so. In fact, coming out of the experience, you might realize that the bad thing may not have been bad after all, but rather beneficial and good for your personal growth. However, when you do meet the unendurable and uncrossable barrier, do not disgrace yourself. All people will see it. This leads into my final principle, death. Memento mori, a Latin phrase that translates to, remember, you must die. Now, this value and phrase is my favorite, not because of its result, but rather how it can serve as a constant reminder of what is certain. See, in life, it seems like most things are changing, and in fact, that is the constant. Change. You're going to learn new things, you make new friends, or explore new places on earth. Change is constant and inevitable. But it's what we experience that differs for everyone. We aren't all interested in the same things, have the same friends, or seen the same places. But we all have a common looming end. Death. You can't escape death. You can run, but it will catch up with you eventually, and you will meet your fate. Death is certain. So if we know it's coming, we shouldn't take our time fearing it or trying to discover the meaning of it. It will come soon enough. A man should only never fear beginning to live. Similar to how nature has assigned unique people to fill the earth, nature has assigned us all to die, and death is a duty. So while you are here, be aware of your mortality. Again, no one is immune. Not Napoleon, not Caesar, and not even the Queen. So definitely not you. Spend your days not acting as though you have 10,000, but rather act as if you were a dying man, of which you are. Be reminded that mortality is by your side and your time is only temporary. Because soon you will have forgotten all things, and all things will have forgotten you. Before I conclude, I must also say that Stoicism extends much farther beyond what I talked about today, and I've merely shared my focus principles of it. So what is the whole meaning of what I just said? Am I telling you to go about your days void of emotion, to be constantly reminded of death, negativity, and your lack of ability to bring change? Or am I telling you to go about your days happy, embrace your certain death, and accept adversity because you can't control much? So why be upset at something you can't change? In all honesty, I've told you nothing you probably don't already know. I've merely pointed out the obvious. You know that there's bad people in the world, but you likely don't wake up in the morning thinking you will see them. I mean, why would you? They're bad people. You know the future is coming, and you can't control most of it. In fact, you've only ever acted within the limits of your abilities, but I'm sure we've all hoped some things to be changed despite it being out of our reach. You know death is certain, but you don't go through your days thinking that just because you are alive, you're already halfway there to death. It's an uncomfortable thought, for sure, but death is coming, whether you like it or not. These truths are so often covered by our ignorance and expectations, our hopes that things could be different, or that you have more control than you actually do. I mean, I too am guilty of this. It's only human to hope for good things to happen and look to be in control. I definitely wish more shots could have landed in my basketball games, had easier calc tests, and have my stolen bicycle returned to me. But what can I do? You can't truly control the people encountering you, the future ahead of you, or the death awaiting you. Remember, you can only control what you can control. So we shouldn't forget these truths and ignore them. We should embrace them. We must not fear, for that is how we let our ignorance get the best of us. We must face them. And as Marcus Aurelius said in Meditations, you have power over your mind, not outside events. There is never any need to get worked up or to trouble your soul about things you can't control. These things are not asking to be judged by you, so leave them alone. Thank you.